Everyone. So we're going to switch it up a little bit today, and we're going to do a little bit more hand modeling with our kind of mouse and keyboard and sub D, and then we'll just use some very, very basic Grasshopper definitions just to add a little teeny bit of detail, and then we'll kind of switch it up in Lumion. So let's just get started. I'm thinking just in my mind, we're going to make these kind of canopy systems overlooking kind of a lake type of thing. So I'm just going to just draw some kind of random shape here that I think could be potentially interesting. Something like this. Okay, and then I'm going to split it down the middle using another curve. So we'll just take the same curve. What we're doing is setting ourselves up for a loft. So, and then from here, what I'm going to do is just select each one of the curves on each side, since we have two now. I'm just going to pick up all the points there. We're just going to pick them up, except for the ones where we split. Just like that. Okay, we'll just pick them all up. Looks like we need to deselect this curve. Something just about like that. And then this one, I'm just going to rebuild it. I think I have 4 and 3 degree. That should work. Okay, and then I'm just going to lower this all the way down. And then we're going to kind of just push each one of these curves outward so we get some space in between there. And I'll just type in smooth. Not that smooth. Lower that down just a bit. That way we get nice transitions between here. And then some of these parts, I might just pick up just a bit. You guys do it on your own, obviously. You all have your design eyes. Okay, so we'll pick that up. And then I'm just going to select all the curves here. We'll go over to our sub D tab. We're just going to go to loft. Might be a little bit messy of a loft. I'm going to add in a secondary seam here. We'll hit OK. Now we can delete out the curves for that loft we have here. I'm just going to subdivide it out one more time. We're going to give it Control Shift and having our gumball on, which the tab here brings up the gumball. And we're just going to use this little dot to extrude down some faces, just like that. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do from here, kind of sprawl it out. Maybe not that far. And then delete out these edges. And then I'm going to select individually each one of the faces at the end of our legs there. Just shrink it down. I'm holding Control Shift and then on the gumball holding Shift again so that it scales uniformly. That'll thin up these legs just a bit so we have some pretty unique looking geometry already starting to emerge. Okay. I'm just going to take the top here, just kind of randomly lift it up a little bit more. We have some downfalls here, which is fine. We could have probably fixed that with our initial curves that we started the loft with, but we'll just select these edges. Actually, it's fine. It'll look cool. This one, I might sprawl this leg back just a bit. This one a little bit forward. Okay. Then again, I'm going to subdivide it out. And I'm going to select some faces here. Maybe go up to here. And let's bridge them together. And my bridge command is right here. So get some kind of unique legs starting to emerge in here. Maybe we'll do it off the front here. 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 Everywhere, but just do one off to the side here, maybe a long kind of one. Oop. Just to add some kind of dynamics throughout this overall model. So if we go to render view, let's see what that's starting to look like. That looks pretty cool. Side, I'm going to pull this just a bit forward. Maybe not, maybe not. Maybe that's not our view too. I think this might be our view. Something about like that. I'm not sure about that bridge. Maybe it's a little bit too long. Let's go back and maybe do a shorter one. We'll go see if this one works. Does that look like rendered? That's pretty interesting. Or if we get a long one in here. I know we said not on every leg, but design's about trying stuff out and seeing what it looks like. Oop. Do this, bridge it. That looks pretty cool. Okay. Here, all I want to do is hold Control Shift on my keyboard, double click on one of the edges. I'm just going to type in patch. Surface, let's do 25, 25, and then we'll get some more UVs and actually we'll leave it at 1010 maybe. Relatively flat. Okay, so that's not super flat. That's all right. Just enough. This is going to be our landscape kind of detail of this model. I'm just going to go to wireframe mode, manually pick some stuff up. We were going to do this anyway, so not a big deal. Select some more points here. Bring this side up. The major thing is I just don't want anything popping out from the exterior kind of canopy model that we just created. Okay. Make is kind of just a floating park. Something kind of futuristic and kind of unique. Some parts through here so it doesn't seem totally floating. Something about like that. Lower part through here. Nice edge on this surface as well. Looks like this area needs to come down quite a bit. Looking good, looking good. Okay. Looks like this one can go a little bit lower. Quite a bit lower. That one, that's for sure. Bring it lower there, bring it lower here. Okay, maybe directly connected with this corner. Bring that lower. Awesome. We're getting there, folks. Okay, now our lowest point's too low. We could have actually probably lofted again, but I don't know if it would have matched up perfectly. So if we go to rendered viewport, looks a little something like this. Cool looking. So I'm liking that. And as for Grasshopper, what I'm going to do is actually just take this overall shape. We're going to make it just a poly surface. Just right-clicking on the convert to NURBS over here. Okay, then we'll just go over to Grasshopper. I'm just going to type in brep. Set multiple breps. I'm just going to run really just a contour in the Y direction. We're just going to give it a little bit of detail. So nothing super crazy by any means. Put in 5. I don't know how big our model is, so we got to be a little bit cautious. This might take a little bit. So there's a lot of UVs that are running through here. If we were to convert it to mesh, it'll run a heck of a lot faster. So let's just type in mesh brep. Just like that. We can hide all this stuff just so we can see where our lines are. One thing I might do is turn off the ISO curves in here. So we can just start to visually see where the contours are landing. Okay, we might go actually in the X direction over the Y. Oh, that's looking pretty good. Okay, looks like the contours are pretty far apart, so all I'm going to do is just increase or decrease the number in between, something a little like that. And all I'm going to type in now is we're just going to extrude it down. Type in the Z direction. Okay, that a second. So these are all polylines now. So just because of the mesh, so meshes are made up of faces. Okay. So you'll notice each one of these is kind of obviously multiple faces through there. And what I do next is actually rebuild each one of these curves. We'll give a degree for the actual degrees there. And from here, I'm just going to type in quite a bit of a larger number. Put it extrude. That should speed up the process there. And instead of going in the positive direction for the Z, type in negative. And let's just give it like a 5. Like if we bake it out. Grasshopper. Maybe want to go in 2 directions, decrease the actual extrusion length. So let's just do a hold shift, put it in the Z. I'm just going to put that at 1. I'm just looking for kind of some veining starting to happen here on the actual model. So some of them worked, some of them didn't. Might have to do extrude twice, which is fine. So I'm just going to copy and paste this extrude down. We'll put this one just in the negative, this one just in the positive. We'll just do this, bake it out, and then that should go both ways. That's looking so far so good. Just adding a little bit of detail everywhere. It might be interesting if we actually give ourselves like a custom vector. So I'm just going to draw a line like this. We're going to lift up one side, and let's type in Grasshopper again. Let's type in vector 2 point, and we'll type in curve. Set one curve. We'll get our endpoints from that curve. E points, that'll be our vector. We're going to need an amplitude, and we'll replace our X vector with these two. Copy it, paste it down twice, and then holding Control Shift, click down the Z vector, Z vector, Z vector, Z vector. There we go. And then I'm going to use the same vector for way back here for our contours. We'll get rid of that X. It's starting to look like. There we go. Starting to get some pretty interesting effects starting to happen. That's a little too empty. Don't want that. To tell you the truth, I kind of like the Z vector a little teeny bit more. So I'm going to just swap these out one more time for the extrude area. Just like that. So we'll leave the actual line for the contours, but the actual extrusion, we'll leave them as Z's. Just a little detail through there. And the cool part is we can change, obviously, which way the vector is going. So if I wanted to push it a little bit more this way, type in Grasshopper again, it should automatically update our vectors. Hit F5 for it to reload. That out one more time. I think we'll be ready to do some more hand modeling. So that looks really nice. Okay, I'm just going to mesh out these new little things we have really quickly. And I'm just meshing them out, so we'll keep our model relatively light. Just like that. Shoes, of course. Okay. And through here, I'm going to add just an edge condition to our originally sub D model. So I'm going to just type in dupe for duplicate border. And we're just going to do something, extrude up, just to cover up any mistakes that we saw before. And then we can lift up our kind of our grass layer just a bit. kind of want to get some points kind of higher on here. What I'm thinking is we're doing parks, so with distance you can see kind of these sky parkways running through. Looks like we went a little too high. To tell you the truth, that's kind of annoying. I'm going to type in. There we go. This one looks like it fits better. You can actually lower it where we can see parts kind of pinching out. I'm going to turn my points on one more time. Add some ridges. I want to be able to see everything out in the distance, that's for sure. That point's not a good one. Like that. We kind of want to on the money shot there. I'm going to bring this all the way up. This kind of hill occurring here. For this end down just a bit. This one as well. So, okay, so the money shot would be something a little bit like this. Okay, I'm just going to delete out our curves so we don't have to see them anymore. Switch up the materials here. Let's go, this would be our grass. See it? Thinking these two materials, I'm just going to join the poly surface and then that outer edge together. I'm just going to call that, I don't know, stainless steel for now. Okay, and then our mesh, we'll just call that bronze for now. Compositionally, I want to see a bunch of these, so what I'm going to do is just bring one way out in the distance. Tap Alt to just copy and paste it really quickly. Show up in our rendering, that's fine, not a big deal. Let's do another one. Far out in the distance. Looks like I didn't rotate this one at all. So I'm just going to do kind of a wider one. Something about like this. This would be kind of the actual shot. Here, what I want to do is just make sure, what do I want to make sure? Actually, it looks pretty much set and ready to go. We're not going to do much for landscape. We're going to try to do a kind of a photo matching lesson on this one. Doesn't work out, this will all just be water. So what I'm going to do is just bring this up further and further and further. Call it water. And we're going to hop over to Lumion next. All right, so we have it over in Lumion. We're going to speed up this process just a little bit faster. I know we said probably do some sort of photo matching thing, but I'm kind of running out of time tonight. But anyway, we're just trying to set the camera right now. For the most part, this model, I had it completely larger than large for Lumion, so panning around and getting anywhere took a little bit more time than needed. So here I'm just applying materials, grass, and all that stuff. I chose it to have a really highly reflective material on the underside, just try to give it some texture there. And then from here, just because the model's so big, what I did was use clusters of trees again. This will kind of definitely lighten the load for the overall rendering process within this. Here we're just going to the other pods or the canopies, kind of filling them up with different trees and all that stuff. Not everywhere, just kind of random spots. So we have some kind of bald patches everywhere, but for the most part. And then within the ocean, I'm just loading it up with kind of these larger boats everywhere. So try to give it some context, so it's like deep ocean, these canopies of forest growing above them. Here we're just going to go through some rendering processes. Lower the boats just so they look like they're actually in the water. as they were. They kind of look like they were floating above it. Then just adjusting some camera moves here, adding the realistic filter, messing with the real skies. You guys will notice like a few times that I come over and over messing with some stuff. Here I'm taking away some of the trees so we have a little bit more bald spots throughout the kind of ocean forest through here. Let's add a kind of a smaller cluster of trees so we have some kind of background through there. And then this model's so large, I tried adding birds in there and all that stuff, still couldn't see them. So really, really large model. Here I'm just playing with precipitation, trying to get some kind of foggy mix through there. It kind of messes with the saturation a little teeny bit as well. Kind of adds a nice focal point throughout the scene here. And for the water, I mess with the scale of the overall waves just to make sure it looks really rough, and kind of gave almost like a dangerous effect to it. So this scene seems like almost like sci-fi. Just messing with the overall precipitation, took it away just to see what the lighting is like. I ended up adding in a sun so we could get kind of 2 light sources through there. And then with the real skies, I was messing around with a lot of the clouds and all the presets through there. The fog, I started adding it in so you get some nice kind of silhouettes of the figures in the background. So you can see it's kind of continuous and tells the story in the back. Through here, again, just kind of messing with the different real skies presets. Real skies, it's nice for doing kind of general renderings and all that stuff, but I always feel like the sun has a lot to do with it. If we were going with nighttime scenes, real skies doesn't really capture a lot of that. So I think overall I just went with the kind of the normal daylight through here and allowed the fog to give the mystery aspect to the overall or the entirety of the scene. And through here just kind of messing with the rotations and the headings. Messing with obviously the fog density again, can't go too crazy with it. Starting to see it a bunch. I do think I give a second attempt on adding in birds through the scene, but obviously it's so small or so big of a model, the birds just simply don't show up. Lowering the camera, getting it down almost into the water, add kind of a dynamic effect to this overall scene. Yep, adding in some sitting birds, obviously. And then here's my second failed attempt of adding birds in. I bet you there's literally over 500 birds in this scene, but we can't see it. That's fine. So anyway, through here, we're just doing one more material check. I turned down the relief factor on it. And now we're just going to render out the final. Looks pretty good. And then in Photoshop, all I'm doing is lightening up some areas. So it's not so dark. We get some of the kind of the legs coming off. You feel the dynamicness to them. Lighten up some of the green areas so we can start to see green kind of patching through there. You'll notice I use Control-J to make a duplicate layer throughout the scene, so if we need to go back to the original, it's super easy to do. Checked out some of the different auto features that Photoshop has to offer. Auto contrast I use just to get some kind of nice highlights throughout the scene. And then I tried to use, I think, an auto color. And through here, I'm just kind of deleting out parts that I didn't like based off the original. Adding more kind of the green sense at the top so we can start to just enjoy some of the highlights through there. And through here, just kind of darkening up the ocean air so it gives it kind of a darker feel. And then we're going to add some vignetting through here. Free transform, Control-T. And we're going to lower the opacity on that. And then from here, flatten it down. And it's all done and ready to go. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, comment, and I'll be talking with you soon.